Okay, so I'm just going to talk about basic exporting. Just to kind of make sure that there's no more questions about it, we're just going to go ahead and run through this portion. This one here, we just have a very basic scene, kind of like what you saw earlier in class. If I hit play, you'll see it'll just do a nice slow spin, and the way it's set up, if I hit play, you can actually kind of walk through the scene. So that's pretty much the only thing that this application will do, and its goal is to be exported out to PC or Mac. Um, so again, we're just going to walk through that portion of what we talked about. Um, Super simple. I'm going to go through two parts. First, I'm just going to walk you through the basics that you need to do a PC or a Mac build. And the reason why you'd want that is so you can actually kind of show it off without actually having someone else install Unity. The second thing I'll show you how to do is how to do icons, and I'll show you how to do a splash screen to kind of make it a little bit cooler. Shouldn't take any longer than 5 or 10 minutes, so we'll kind of dive right into it. Okay, so like any other scene that we have, we're going to go to File, and then we're going to Build, or go to Build Settings. Don't do Build and Run, only to use that when you're ready to go. Under Build Settings, it's going to bring up this build dialog. If you've done the Android export, this is the exact same thing. Instead of going to Android, we are actually going to PC Mac, which for most versions, that should just be the standard, or that should actually be the default. So one of the things that you have to do is you have to make sure there's something here. If you notice, it's blank. It can't be blank. It has to have something there. Most of the time for you guys, the things that you are building should be the scene that you actually have open already. Excuse me. So like the scene that you actually have here, it's open. It's called sample. Probably should have chose a better name, but here it is. To make it simpler, there's a button right here. It says add open scenes. If I click on that, it'll add it. And as long as this is checkmarked, it will be used. If for your case here, if you have more than one, you might have done something wrong. If you did by chance make a mistake, if you click on it, see how it turned blue, and just hit delete, it will disappear. But for our case, what we have open is what we need. So again, I'm going to go to add open scenes. Now for more savvy people, they might want to come around and mess with these settings on the right side. For you guys, you don't really need to do that. It should be super simple. I wouldn't worry too much about it. So in this case, when you're ready, just go ahead and hit build. And so every now and then I get this really weird missing project ID. Sometimes you'll get that, sometimes you won't. I can go into why it's happening, but all you really need to know is that you do want to continue. Do you want to continue? Yes, I do. So as soon as I click on that, it's going to ask you where you'd like to build it. So in my case here, I really suggest that you actually build it in your Unity project folder. As you can see here, this is the Unity project folder that I have. I call it Revit to Unity, and it has assets, library, blah, blah, blah. Doesn't matter. I'm just going to add a new folder. I'm going to call it builds with a capital B. Does not really matter. I'm going to click on that and open it, and I'm just going to call it, let's see here, splash screen is what I'm going to call it, because that's really what it is, since it does that really nice, cool rotation around your scene. Leave this all alone. Once you're ready, just hit save, and then it should start building. If you get any errors down at the bottom, or if the build happens really fast, so there might be a mistake. But once that happens, all you need to do is, or most of the time, it'll also go ahead and open up the window that you've saved it to. If you click on it here and do splash builds, you'll see this configurator there. That'll look familiar to you if you're using the Revit to Unity add-in. So what you can do, and I'm going to go ahead and click on Windows so I can get out of it. I'm going to hit play, and as you notice here, it's going to open up the game. And then what you can do here is, as soon as that kind of opens up, if you give those two files to somebody, all they have to do is click on this, and it should automatically start playing by itself, just like this. So that is one of the easiest, fastest way to show off your work if you have a computer. Because as soon as I hit play, there it is. I don't need Unity to walk around your scene. So that's the simple part. I'll go into something that's a little bit more advanced, and what I'm going to do here is we're just going to add a couple of pictures there to kind of make it look a little bit cool. Now I'm just going to go through this pretty fast because again, it doesn't have to be anything intent. But the house is what I think is cool. So I'm going to zoom in on that a little bit and kind of pull it back out. I'm just going to take my snipping tool. If you want to use Shift Print Screen on your keyboard, if you hold down Shift and hit the Print Screen key, it's usually above Insert to the right of F12, you can take a screenshot. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to just grab that, and then I'm going to save it to my desktop. I'm going to call it Splash. Can't spell, but that's okay. So I'm going to save that, and then I'm going to open this on my desktop. For some reason it didn't save like I thought it would, so I'm going to do it again just to be safe. It looks like I saved to the drive, my Google Drive by accident. That's fine. So I'm going to close this out, don't need it anymore. And what I'm going to do is I'm just going to open this in Photoshop. Actually, for you guys, you might not have Photoshop. You should though. I'm going to use Photoshop. Click the wrong button. So I'm going to go to Properties. Looks like I need to set mine up. So I'm going to change. Down here, for some reason Photoshop's not showing up like it should. Check one more time. Nope. So I'm going to look for another app. And I think I keep all of my junk in my F drive. So Adobe, yep, 2017, Photoshop, Photoshop exe. I might cut this out so you don't have to look at it. I'm going to hit apply. Okay. Open this mofo up. So inside of Photoshop, I'm going to do two things. I'm going to make a square version, and I'm going to make a rectangular version. The best way to kind of get used to that there is I did a Google search, and what you need is a file that is 432 by 163. So those are the two versions I'm going to make. I'm going to cancel that because I don't care. Okay, so what I'm going to do here is crop it twice. So first thing I want to do is I want a square version. So I'm going to take my crop tool, redraw it around the red part, and hold down Shift to make sure it's square. I'm going to save that out. And then back to my desktop, and I'm going to call it icon. I'm going to cancel that. My Photoshop, I'm going to make sure it's just a JPEG. Doesn't really matter. I could have worked with the GIF as well. I'm going to call it icon. And then I'm going to undo that. And then I'm going to make a version that is 432. So I'm going to do image size. I'm not going to lock these because it's an aspect ratio thing. And if you want to learn more about it, just ask me about it and we'll talk about it. Actually, I'm going to cancel. So I'm going to take it to 72 first. Then you want to do pixels. See how that changed the numbers around a little bit? So 432, hit OK. And that doesn't look as horrible. Still pretty bad though, but that's fine. Because no one will tell the difference because of the size that we're looking at. Again, if that's something you want to know about, just give me a call. We'll figure it out. Okay, so we have image size. Oh, we want to do canvas size, so I'm going to do canvas this time. And then you see right here, this is where we want to make that small change. I'm going to make this 163 now. I'm going to make sure that it shrinks in from the top and bottom. Actually, I'd much prefer it come from the bottom. Actually, I think I got that right. Yeah, there it is. See how the arrows point? That's what I want to do. I want to come up from the bottom instead of all the way around. So I'll hit OK. So I should lose some stuff on the bottom. That's great. Do another save. And then I'm going to call this splash.jpg. Back to the desktop. Splash. Okay, so back to Unity. We're just going to take these two items that I have that I place on my desktop, drag and drop them in. Sometimes there's been some issues where this isn't working the way I think it should. So there's two ways to do that. I'm going to do it both ways. I'm going to right click and do an import new asset. I'm going to navigate to my desktop. And then I'm just going to import the icon. The other way to do that is just to right click, show and explore, and then I'm just going to drag Splash by itself into the assets folder. Now for some reason, I don't know why it wouldn't let me drag those in. I don't have time to worry about it, but those three ways should kind of get you taken care of. You can drag and drop it in most times into Unity. You can do the import, so by right click, import new asset, or you can just drag it into that one folder that we looked at. Okay, so by default, you shouldn't have to worry about what's happening here. You should just accidentally import the way you want to. So let's go back to the beginning where we did that build. So I'm going to do a file, build settings. Most of the stuff that most of the work that you did should already be here. So you don't have to really do too much. What you really want to do now is hit player settings. If you notice here on the far right, the player settings have changed, or it's changed to player settings in the inspector. So there's two things that you want to do. I'm going to take icon, I'm just going to drag that into here, and I'm going to take splash, and I screwed that up. I clicked on that, and when I did, it changed the inspector. So you're going to have to go back to players settings over here under the build settings, and just be careful again. So I'm just going to left click and drag instead of clicking on it, and just drop that there. So that's going to look kind of strange to you at the beginning, but as soon as I hit build, it's going to be a little bit more clear as to what these things are doing. So I'm going to hit build. Again, ask me that weird question. I have no idea how to get rid of it just right now. We'll worry about that later. But yes, I do want to continue. And then what I'm going to do is I should have built a folder. I'm going to call this splash screen 2. And then I should have put my stuff inside of there. That way it wasn't so confusing. But in this case here, we'll just do this with this version. Hit save. Let it do its thing. It shouldn't take very long because it didn't take very long last time. So here you go. Here's the icon that we used, depending on the size that you're looking at for your Windows or your Mac. You can see it kind of shows up. So I have the icon of my building, and if I double click on it, you can now see that splash screenshot that we set up there. It looks kind of ugly. We really haven't found a better way or a way to make that cooler. So right now we're just kind of looking at different ways to kind of get it in. You guys might be able to figure it out before me, but it's just here so you know that it exists. So I'm just going to go ahead and actually I'm going to make this a tad bit smaller so it fits onto the screen better. I'm going to hit play. So as you can see, this time it's a little bit smaller. That's great. And then as soon as it loads in, we should be able to kind of take a look at it. Hit play. And now we have a PC or Mac export that we can send to anybody that we want. If you did want to send it, you're going to have to zip it. So in this case here, I'm going to right click, and some people like Macs will already have zip. I like using 7-zip because it's free and it works really well. I never use the 7Z thing though. That's kind of weird. So in my case here, I'm just going to turn this into a zip. Add to misspelled splash screen 2 zip. So it's going to make that into one file that someone could open and close. It's great. So now I have a zip file here, and then this is what I would email or send out to my specific clients. You can even burn it to a CD or DVD. There's a whole lot of things you can do with these exports. So just let me know if you have any more questions. I'll leave you guys to it.